with you. For those of you, I agree, Mia, thank you. Praises to Sophia God, exactly. We yesterday for day 4, we had the YouTube interface wasn't working, the Facebook interface wasn't working, so we ended up on Instagram. For those of you who are still wondering about what happened yesterday, the back end of YouTube was being updated, unbeknownst to us, and apparently the back end of Facebook was as well. And so the only platform that was left was Instagram. So if you are not following me on all those platforms, please be sure to do that, because we just never know when we have to pivot from YouTube. Excuse me. When we have to pivot from YouTube over to another platform. I think our lives have become so intertwined with these social media platforms that it's starting to become inconceivable that they're not actually stable platforms. And the truth is that they're not. They're run by companies that are just as fallible as any other company, and they do ridiculous amounts of updates based on whatever they want to develop for their own ends all of the time. And so it's important to understand that there are going to be times where our technology is just fine and those interfaces are doing whatever they want to do. And so we thank you for your patience and understanding with that. We would never want to let you down, promise you something and then not show up to it. If that were to ever happen because of an emergency, we would always let you know in advance across social media platforms and in your inbox. So if you are not on our mailing list, please get on our mailing list. You can sign up on my website, kaira.com, and you can get a free chapter of the Sofia Code, the chapter 1 audiobook recording, as well as an altar. I'd like this little altar card that I designed for how you can work with your Sofia Code book. And it's just important to understand that we really deeply care about all of you. We've received a lot of gratitude and wonderful feedback, and I want to say thank you in every direction to everyone who is sending us in that supportive reflections. And we've also received some really interesting correspondence. I think people think because this is a free ministerial offering that they think everything about it is free, including my time and the people that are here working to keep this offering going. Is like, there are still invoices being paid. This is still an hour or 2 of my time that could be used on other projects. It's like all of the technology and the streaming that we use, that's all being paid for as well. Like, this truly is like an offering from the heart, from all of our hearts. So please be respectful to our team angels, and please think the best of us, because we're always thinking the best of you. This is an offering that's coming from my heart to yours, because I see the highest potential in humanity and in every individual that is drawn to this ministry. Whether you can see your highest potential or not, that's none of my business, but that's what I'm seeing, and that's what I'm here to serve. So if you feel frustrated or angry if a broadcast isn't working, I understand your feelings, but also, please contact us with respect and hopefully some gratitude and some understanding that there are still things in this world that, such as other outside platforms, that we have to use to reach as many people as possible, such as YouTube, that we don't have control over. So we can only do the best we can through prayer and meditation. But if YouTube decides to completely overhaul its back end, there's no amount of prayer that's going to change that. It's just like, that's what's going to happen in that moment. And our prayer is to be here no matter what. We went from YouTube to Facebook and then to Instagram. It's just like, we're doing our part. We are hanging in there no matter what's happening. So I just want to let everyone know that, like, we're human. And just because you're behind a computer screen doesn't mean that you can just write a bunch of stuff to offload your bad feelings of the day. It's just like, that's not nice. You wouldn't do that in person. Hopefully, don't do that behind a screen either. So that's a little bit of that. Thanks everyone for everyone who is so respectful. We're so blessed to have so many people in our community that know exactly what I'm talking about. And this is why I created the Sophia Code Mystery School. It's because most often that kind of behavior that we experience in our inbox and in social media is coming from people that are just like, they're just deeply wounded or very traumatized, and they don't know how to process what they're feeling. And we're a very safe place, to kind of offload those frustrations, and a perceived safe place. And it's important to understand, this is why we created the Mystery School. It's to walk you through the teachings of the Sophia Code, especially that Stargate 1 curriculum. Man, it teaches you how to be in a good way, no matter what you are feeling in your feelings. It's just like, we're not saying you can't feel your feelings of anger or frustration. It's just like, I have too many to count all day long. It's just like, there's so many feelings that come up, being in leadership to this many people. And it's up to me. It's my responsibility about how I'm going to respond and not react, how I'm going to articulate and communicate or retract. And it's just like, it's a choice in every present moment. And that's called spiritual maturity. And that's what we teach in the Sophia Code Mystery School, especially in the Stargate 1 curriculum. What we're teaching is, there's like over 30 classes. And if you watch each class in a row, which is a journey through the Sophia Code, you learn how to become an exceptional, stellar human being. Your divinity is already stellar, and your divinity is already exceptional. It is the everything. But integrating your divinity into your humanity, now that's a journey, and it's a lifelong journey. What the Sophia Code Mystery School does is it gets you on the pathway. It puts your feet to the fire of the inner transformation that you absolutely must do to become the human being that you want to become. To be operated by your higher self-consciousness. It's just like, we are not aware of how unconsciously our wounding in our ego structure is causing us to behave in this world until there is a mirror that is put up in front of us and is like, hey, that's not okay. But we know you don't mean that. This is how you can do it in such a good way. You can express anger. You can express frustration in a way that's actually productive. It's in a way that inspires and empowers you. It's like, it's amazing how much the Sophia Code Mystery School is here to support us in becoming authentic human ambassadors of Sophia Christ consciousness. We're not here to skip any steps. We're not a 10-step new age program. We are a legitimate university from the Ascended Masters. Every single one of those classes are channeled. And it goes on to a second, the Stargate 2, which is an entire coursework on spiritual leadership, saying things that nobody is saying. We talk about the underbelly of spiritual leadership. We talk about all of the feelings that are going to come up as you step into the arena of being seen as a resource of support for others, including the deer in headlights, emotional shutdown that can happen as you start to step closer and closer to divine purpose. It's like, all of that is real, and it's okay that it's real. That's why we created the Mystery School, to get you in the arena with the support of a loving international community and all of our team angels cheering you on, because that's how much we care. I mean, it's just like, I don't have to pay for all these team angels and social media making sure everybody feels loved. No, I do that because I know that's the right thing to do. It's just like, that's how I roll. That's how we roll in this Mystery School. And so it's just like, I don't know. I feel a lot of, healthy fire right now, just to be clear. I'm just like, sometimes I feel so frustrated, but then I realize, well, I could just articulate what's really happening, the depth of commitment, the depth of hours that we all put in as a team for this movement, on both our ministerial offerings, such as the Heaven on Earth Prayer Collective, what happens here on the YouTube channel, and what happens in our Mystery School. It's an incredible effort on all of our parts, and we thank you for all of your loving support and for sharing the good news that there's a legitimate University of Ascended Master teachings that's available for us at this time, because we need it more than ever. It's just like, this is the time to embody our sovereignty. And Mary Magdalene knew exactly what she was doing with Jesus and Mother Mary and every single person that was in the Mount Carmel Mystery School lineage that was leading the way during Mary Magdalene's lifetime on earth. And we're gonna read a passage today about that before we go into the Keycode 5 initiation. You know that I love to just kind of hang out with you in the live chat feed while we're waiting for everybody to come on board, because again, everybody has so many feelings. We want to make sure everyone's included at the starting line. So we're just going to keep hanging out here for a few minutes while we wait for everyone to get online. I see a question about the pendant I'm wearing. So this is the one of my latest creations, the Saint Joan of Arc Sovereignty pendant. Again, it's a two-sided pendant. The back is golden dragon scale. Well, this is the gold vermeil over brass, and then this is a fleur-de-lis. And then the front of the pendant is Joan's banner with her sword from St. Catherine and the cross. Now, this design was based off of Joan's coat of arms. Joan was given a coat of arms by the King of France after he ascended the throne. And in her coat of arms, which is just so very much like Joan, it was very powerful and elegant and to the point. It included her sword. It included two fleur-de-lis on either side of the sword, and the sword goes up into the crown of France. Joan received many visions from God and Archangel Michael, St. Catherine, and St. Marguerite, both of which were martyrs, Christian martyrs that were also killed at the same age as Joan for their belief in Christianity. And they appeared to Joan at a very early age in her life, along with Archangel Michael, with the Great Commission to free France and to bring France back into its sovereignty after 100 years war, where France was being persecuted by England day in and day out, its people raped, and its royal lineage was almost completely given over to the crown. It was at that very pinnacle moment where the spirit of France was crushed, that Joan was born and brought into her divine feminine Christ ministry and mission as a messenger, a oracular activist who was standing up for the sacred boundaries of France's sovereignty and for her people. And so what's interesting about Joan is that she never actually rode into battle with her sword. Her sword was on her horse, but she rode in front of 10,000 men as the youngest living general in our female general, no less, but also the youngest living general that we have in history, recorded history. She was only, I believe, 17 years old when she started, when she was given her role as a general of the army, and she was murdered by the age of 19. So her ministry was very short-lived. As soon as the king ascended the throne, she was sold out to the British Crown, and she was put on trial, and then she was burned alive. While she was being burned alive, she was actually praying for her persecutors and calling upon the name of Jesus to bless everyone in attendance who was watching her burn alive. Now, if you want to talk about a divine feminine Christ ministry, that's what one would look like. All right. So this Joan appeared to me a couple years ago as I was birthing the Stargate 2 curriculum, which is the second coursework in the Sophia Code Mystery School. And that coursework is based on modules of a book that I am editing for publication. It's called The Elegant Equation of Divine Feminine Christ Leadership. And when Joan came in, it was a very startling experience for me. She was just as physical as I am right now for you across this video screen. And she asked to be a protector of the Sophia Code movement and of our mystery school and of our international ministry. And I said, yes, of course. And it never really occurred to me how, she's the only person that we mentioned in the Sophia Code in that outside of any singular figure, outside of the 8 revealed key codes in section 2. She's only mentioned in one line in Mary Magdalene's chapter. And I remember when the Sophia Dragon Tribe asked me to write it, I remember thinking, why do you want me to write this? Because I up until that point in my life, I had not made direct contact with Joan. And they said, it doesn't matter. You don't have to understand. Just make sure it's in Mary Magdalene's chapter. And I said, okay, great. So I wrote it in, and there she was 2 years later in my living room. And then I connected the dots. I was like, oh, you're about to come in really big as a part of the Keycode 5 transmission of the Sophia Code. And then, of course, last year when I went on my pilgrimage to France, I received so much more information that I'm going to one day write about Joan and how she's connected to this ministry. And I'm really excited to do that. And it's just kind of like we're finishing up a lot of projects right now. So many. So,